extension and animal health services on livestock farms, towards the stable supply of safe foods of animal origin. Meat and milk are now widely consumed in many countries. When did Japanese people start consuming these? Japan's culture of consuming meat and milk was uncommon, and its history of livestock farming is short. It was around 1950 that the national policy of livestock genetic improvement and animal husbandry extension began. This graph represents Japan's GDP, or gross domestic product. It shows a gradual increase until about 1965. But soon after that, the economy expanded rapidly on the back of industrial growth, and national income increased. This led to an increase in the consumption of foods of animal origin. We can see that from about 1965, the annual per capita consumption is also increasing in proportion to the increase in GDP. The technical services for livestock farmers by the public and private sectors were the driving force behind the growth of the livestock industry. Livestock farming requires a range of technical support, from production to shipment. For example, even if the number of livestock increases, meat and milk of sufficient quality and quantity cannot be produced without commensurate improvement of techniques for health and nutrition management on the farm. How did Japan create a technical support system to assist livestock farmers? Immediately after World War II, the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry established the Livestock Industry Bureau. Within 10 years, a series of laws promoting agriculture and livestock farming was enacted. These included the Agricultural Cooperatives Act and the Agricultural Improvement Promotion Act. Relevant organizations to support livestock farmers were then established in accordance with those laws. Within just a year of the law's establishment, 14,000 agricultural cooperatives were established nationwide. They contributed to the formation of production areas through the establishment of a farm guidance system and the shared use of machinery and facilities. They have farm advisors dedicated to each specific livestock category, such as dairy farming, beef cattle fattening, and pig production. Agricultural Mutual Relief (AMR) associations were established nationwide under the Agricultural Disaster Compensation Act of 1947. Each farmer pays into a system that compensates for expenses related to deaths, diseases, and livestock animal injuries, and provides services such as veterinary treatment, artificial insemination, and disease prevention. In addition, in 1950, livestock hygiene service centers were established in each prefecture. To strengthen livestock infectious disease control, these centers diagnose livestock diseases, give preventive hygiene guidance, and are responsible for identifying infectious disease outbreaks on farms and reporting to the local government. Later, as the economy grew, the demand for foods of animal origin and the need to expand farmers' income increased. In response, various livestock promotion measures and technical guidance systems were established. Although the agricultural extension centers were established nationwide based on the Agricultural Improvement Promotion Act set up in 1948, unlike in crop farming, the number of extension officers in livestock farming with expertise was insufficient in Japan, where livestock farming had a short history. In 1955, the Japan Livestock Industry Association was established to start training experts in livestock farming. In 1970, those trained livestock extension officers were assigned to the agricultural extension centers in each prefecture, which enabled support and guidance for livestock farmers. Thus, cooperation and demarcation were established. For example, instruction on farm hygiene and animal health services are handled by livestock hygiene service centers and veterinarians from clinics, including agricultural mutual relief associations, while farming guidance, genetic improvement, and technical guidance on feed production and utilization come from the agricultural extension centers and cooperatives. As livestock farming has become larger scale and more specialized, there has been a demand for more advanced farming techniques and management. This in turn also led to greater specialization and sophistication in the services provided by the organizations supporting livestock farmers. Now let's look at the Japanese technical support system that assists livestock farmers from the aspects of veterinary medicine, infectious disease control, and extension services. This is Igarashi Farm in Fukushima Prefecture. They have 50 breeding stock of beef cattle to produce calves. The calves born here are shipped to the calf auction market at 10 months of age. The calves purchased at markets are fattened for 20 months, then shipped to an abattoir. To produce and fatten animals of high market value, various public and private technicians frequently visit the farm and provide technical services. Let's look at how those technical services work on the farm. Calf production starts with making cows pregnant. That process is assisted by clinical veterinarians. Today is the day of the monthly reproductive examination.
I examine the ovaries and the uterus recovery after calving. Then I treat the individuals that are not cycling or have ovary dysfunction.
It improves our breeding performance at the herd level. That leads to the advantage of reducing the production costs per head of calf, so it is very important to have periodic reproductive examinations.
The farmer constantly observes the cows, and if he finds any cows showing heat signs, an artificial insemination technician or veterinarian is brought in for service.
I always try to have good communication with farmers so that I can detect early the cows that are not in cycle. The greater the number of non-pregnant cows, and the longer it takes for cows to get pregnant, the worse the impact on management. So I always visit regularly to provide artificial insemination or find and treat cows that are not pregnant as early as possible.
First, we make sure they are born in a clean place and immediately feed them colostrum. They are then fed milk for the first 3 months. The most important thing for good growth is daily health management. We ask the veterinarian to give vaccinations at the appropriate times. We have a common understanding that health management is important and give the calves daily care.
A farm advisor from the agricultural cooperative has arrived. It looks like he is going to register a newborn calf. First, he takes a nose print as biometric identification for a pedigree certificate. The certificate is a necessary registration document when buying and selling the animals. Then he attaches an ear tag with a 10-digit number. This ear tag number is printed on the packages of meat sold in retail stores. Consumers can see the animal's production history online by entering the number in the nationally standardized system. This is called the traceability system and guarantees the safety of beef in the market. Sometimes the calves get sick despite the farmer's good care. At such times, the clinical veterinarian rushes over to give a diagnosis and treatment.
Hello, this is Kubota. I see. I'll be there in about 10 or 15 minutes.
First, she asks Mr. Igarashi for detailed information about the animal, then begins the examination. She makes a diagnosis based on the interview and clinical findings, then uses veterinary drugs and instruments kept in the clinic car to medicate or do surgery at the farm.
The animal I treat is the farmer's asset, so I make sure its economic value does not deteriorate. For dairy cattle, I try to make the animal's milk eligible to be shipped. If it's beef cattle, I try to make the animal eventually ready for shipment with good value.
After treatment by the clinical veterinarian, the calf recovers and starts eating and growing well again until the day of shipping to market. Some diseases, however, can cause outbreaks and the damage expands. That's when the Livestock Hygiene Service Center has a role to play. The Livestock Hygiene Service Centers are public institutions set up in each prefecture. They conduct prevention and diagnosis of livestock disease at the municipal level and give guidance on farm hygiene management to promote Japan's livestock production. One of their important functions is diagnosis conducted at the request of veterinarians and farmers.
Please tell us about what happened when a disease outbreak was suspected and a veterinary officer from the Livestock Hygiene Service Center visited this farm.
In the past, there was an outbreak where half the herd had pneumonia-like symptoms, and we asked a clinical veterinarian to examine the cases. Then the clinical veterinarian asked the Livestock Hygiene Service Center for a detailed investigation to elucidate the cause of the disease.
Please tell us what happened then. First, we were contacted by a clinical veterinarian, so we asked about the situation. Then we visited the farm. At the farm, we collected information from Mr. Igarashi about how the outbreak went and epidemiological information like the feed they gave and the animals they introduced to the farm. Then, we checked the actual clinical signs of the animals and collected blood and swab samples from both diseased animals and those housed with them. Pathological autopsies and detailed laboratory tests were conducted on the animals that died to determine the cause of the outbreak. We were able to specify the cause and take appropriate measures to prevent further impact. When there are suspicions of an infectious disease that requires a rapid response, such as foot and mouth disease, avian influenza, or swine fever, as soon as we enter the farm, we report to the prefectural government, which then reports to the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries with an early response system for an infectious disease outbreak. What things are you careful about when the Livestock Hygiene Service Center conducts examinations and investigations?
There are some times when the test results indicate that the cattle so carefully raised by the farmer must be destroyed. So we always take care to produce accurate test results. Specifically, we ensure test accuracy by conducting all tests in accordance with the standard operating procedures and getting appraisal by external bodies. The center also implements an internal quality management system with annual appraisals to check if the laboratory staff are conducting the tests properly. To control infectious diseases, the Livestock Infectious Disease Prevention Act sets out feeding hygiene management standards, and farmers are obligated to comply with them. We visit farms for monitoring, and if we find anything out of compliance, we instruct the farmer to make improvements. By visiting farms frequently, we can understand their current situation. The farms are also obligated to report annually on their farm status to the Livestock Hygiene Service Center. Based on that information about each farm, we make sure that we are always ready to respond to an infectious disease outbreak.
Calves raised successfully this way are divided into those that remain on the farm for fattening, those that become breeding cows, and those that are sold at market. A farm advisor from the agricultural cooperative has arrived. Today, he and Mr. Igarashi will discuss which calves will be selected for sale at the next auction.
The stage of growth of each calf is of course an important parameter to select for sale, but in addition, I discuss with Mr. Igarashi which heifers to keep as a breeding cow for future genetic improvement. Breeding cows are important for the stable and consistent sale of the calves with high market value. That's why we must select breeding cows with excellent conformation and pedigree.
The selected calves are sent to auction once a month. A truck carrying calves has arrived. Many buyers are attending. Calves are tethered to a numbered pen in line with the auction list. Producers do a final grooming of the calves, and buyers preview the calves they are interested in while comparing them against the auction list. The auction is also a setting for information exchange between producers and with various stakeholders. The calves are weighed after leaving the pen just before entering the auction hall. The electronic bulletin board that buyers watch displays the measured weight, auction number, and starting price. At the auctioneer's call, buyers press the bid button. One head of cattle is auctioned in about 1 minute. After that, the cattle set out for their new farms.
We shipped 3 calves today. Overall, it was good because the feedback on our calves was positive. The calves have grown well with the support of various veterinarians since birth. We achieved today's high prices thanks to the technical support of multiple organizations. It's a relief to see the results today of our collective efforts with the people around us.
The calves purchased at market for fattening are examined by a clinical veterinarian to identify any problems.
They undergo a fattening process for 20 months, which is a long time. So first, we take the utmost care not to stress them. We increase their weight and improve meat quality by increasing different mixed feed according to their age in months. We rear them and manage their health with the utmost care, and if we detect even small abnormalities, we call the clinical veterinarian to treat them.
The process of fattening can typically be divided into a first half and a second half. In the first half, the stress of sudden environmental changes and living with unknown individuals can suppress the animal's immune systems. The cattle come from various farms, which means different pathogenic agents can be brought in, so we must take care to avoid the spread of infections among the herd. In the second half, if we medicate the cattle for an illness, we have to set a specific withdrawal time where they will not receive medication before slaughtering, otherwise we can't ship those animals. It's important to communicate properly with the farmer about the choice to medicate or not.
A farm advisor from the agricultural cooperative has come to Mr. Igarashi's fattening barn. They discuss shipping timing while looking at animals that are in the finishing stage.
What do you look at when selecting animals for shipping?
First, the month of age. The standard for shipping is 30 months old. There is also the period of high demand for beef, so we consider shipping timing in consultation with the farmer to maximize the benefit.
The day before shipping, the cattle are cleaned and brushed. On shipping day, they are loaded onto a truck early in the morning. The agricultural cooperative transports them to the abattoir. At the abattoir, the unit price is determined based on carcass yield, weight, and meat quality. That performance data is fed back to the producer.
We examine the problems and areas for improvement during that 20-month period and utilize the results to improve the next period.
At farms with large herds, manure disposal is another important issue. An extension officer from the Agricultural Extension Center has arrived. He collects manure, analyzes its composition, and gives feedback to the producer. The Extension Center also analyzes soil to give technical support for feed crop production.
Every year, the extension officer selects techniques to disseminate based on problems the farmers are facing in that area. We then spread the selected techniques by visiting the farmers and holding seminars for farmers.
A government officer in charge of livestock promotion also visits the farm and listens to farmers.
The livestock industry is very important to this town. To better support them, it is essential to identify problems and understand the state of farming operations through communication with the farmers.
These various organizations connected to producers gather periodically and exchange information and discuss solutions to shared problems. As part of its international cooperation, JICA is strengthening technical support systems for livestock farmers in target countries, in addition to technology transfer to local experts. First, let's look at initiatives to strengthen technical extension required for livestock promotion in Sri Lanka.
Since 2019, we have been working to enhance dairy farming in the northern province of Sri Lanka, which, despite having a high population of farmers and cattle, face challenges due to low technical skills. Our goal is to improve the situation using this potential. To address this, we developed a dairy techniques manual and had Japanese experts train livestock extension officers in both technical skills and effective dissemination methods. These trained officers then held training sessions for dairy farmers in the rural and remote areas. A key focus for us was ensuring the project's sustainability. We gradually transitioned responsibility to our local counterparts, empowering them to plan and conduct training sessions by themselves. Furthermore, we established a sponsorship model where local dairy companies and animal drug companies now provide financial support for materials, refreshments, and other needs. As a result, farmers who previously couldn't access the extension services now have regular contact with extension officers. Training sessions also feature successful farmers sharing their experiences, fostering farmer-to-farmer extension. One notable success is the rapid adoption of Super Napier grass cultivation, a technique introduced by the project, which has been particularly valuable under the situation of rising feed costs.
Now let's look at Extension Officer initiatives for connecting Namibian farmers with markets.
In northern Namibia, we are strengthening the capacity of extension workers to help to improve the livelihoods of livestock farmers. We are trying to change farmers' mindset from produce and sell to produce to sell, shifting from traditional livestock husbandry practices to market-oriented farming practices to meet market needs on their own. In order for farmers to adopt and practice the farming techniques continuously, it is important for them to gain awareness through activities such as looking back on their past farming activities and seeing the market with their own eyes, in order to decide on their actions. We support extension workers for empowering farmers to improve their farming plans and production techniques with their own initiatives.
JICA Senior Advisor Yumi Kirino, who has a wealth of international experience, makes the following comments about the importance of technical support extension.
Livestock production is a very important industry, both as a source for essential nutrients and as a means for farming communities globally to make a living, including areas where crop cultivation is difficult. To transition from raising livestock for subsistence to livestock farming as a livelihood or a business, it is essential to build a system to provide specialized technical services. In international cooperation in the livestock sector, interest tends to focus on areas like reproduction technology for genetic improvements and laboratory techniques to diagnose infectious diseases in livestock. However, even if such technologies are introduced to a country, they do not always immediately reach farm production sites and become profitable. For example, artificial insemination won't easily result in conception if the cow is in poor nutritional condition. Moreover, laboratory tests won't be requested for the diagnosis of diseases unless farmers, clinical veterinarians, and animal health officers have a constant face-to-face relationship. In other words, demonstrating the power of advanced technology is premised on the creation of technical service systems that support basic daily livestock management, such as technical extension and veterinary services, and for trust and collaboration to exist between associated public and private players and producers. I think that it's important for both experts involved in international cooperation and local stakeholders to understand these facts, and to create a mechanism that looks beyond the introduction of technology.